All right, welcome to Climbing Ladders, the podcast where business gets personal. Whether you're crushing it in the C-suite, stuck in a cubicle, or plotting your great escape from the 9 to 5, this is your backstage pass to the crazy world of work. Every podcast, we're serving up real talk, hot takes, and behind-the-scenes stories from people who've climbed, jumped off, or built their own ladders entirely. And hey, our apologies up front for some business jargon and buzzwords. There's no boring lectures, just honest, funny, and sometimes brutally real conversations about careers, ambition, burnout, bad bosses, and everything in between. Maybe you'll relate to the venting or feel better that someone has a worse work experience than you. So grab your coffee or your cocktail. Maybe you're hopping on the treadmill or enjoying the commute into the office. Let's talk about the climb.
Hey, hello all. I am Christine Tran, co-host of Climbing Ladders. I've settled into a new role lately as mom to twin girls who are almost 1 year old. So I wouldn't say lately, but it's been a fast 1 year. However, prior to being an unpaid employee to these two darlings, I have had a couple of decades of many memorable but also tough roles throughout my career path. During my college years, I did the waitressing bit, and I even got certified to be a pharmacy technician. However, when it got down to trying to figure out what my, lifelong career was going to be, I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist. During pharmacy school prep, I was working part-time at a clothing store, and that kind of kicked off my career in apparel marketing and merchandising, and other roles that involved the consumer shopping experience. That then pivoted me into the beauty and personal care industry. Gosh, I think I've experienced so much in that space. I've been an individual contributor. I've directed corporate departments and also led the charge of brand creation. So I feel confident to say I've sat in a lot of roles and have been at different heights on that totem pole. But you know who is the big chief on Climbing Ladders? My friend, co-host, and an awesome all-around guy, Kevin.
Thanks, Christine. You say big chief. It's more like a little chief because we know you're the big dog in this group. Yes, I'm Kevin Spight. My path was not exactly how I drew it up when I was a little kid growing up in suburbia Denver. Besides not having the talent to take over quarterbacking the Denver Broncos, and companies are apparently not handing out CEO roles straight out of college, I did all the things I never thought I would do. From financial advisor, being 22 years old and telling people I can help them retire, to actually selling cosmetics to Target. Yes, I've learned why this foundation is amazing and has great coverage. I've sat in the bullpen rows of cubicles. I've been in the executive chair around the boardroom. I've worked for the man. I've worked for myself. The things I enjoy the most are conversations like this, helping my friends and their friends, dare I say, navigate the business world. So excited to do this thing with one of my all-time favorite coworkers and friends, Christine, who you'll hear me call lovingly CT. So CT, what are we going to talk about today on this, our first episode?
I feel like this is such a fitting way to kind of launch our podcast. So I felt this before, and I want to ask you guys, have you ever woken up and felt, just get through one more day? Or what am I doing with this career? Maybe if I can make it through my annual review and get a bonus, I'll start looking for something better. If you felt that, you're not alone. And most of all, you're definitely not crazy. So you want to quit your job? Everyone has said this, maybe at every job you've been. But before you write that resignation letter, let's chat. Let's go through, the emotional, mental, and maybe physical signs that it's time. But also, let's talk about how to quit well and then what comes next.
Well said, CT. And hey, to help us with this chat today, we're so grateful to have a dear friend, Emily Horsley, join the Climbing Ladders podcast. Someone who I call a straight hustler in the best way possible. An absolute badass who has a stronger self-motivation to be successful than anyone I've ever met. She started a cosmetics brand. She's helped a startup become a multi-billion-dollar acquisition. And she's always down to sneak a Friday afternoon happy hour while still raising her 3 little kiddos. Emily, welcome, and thanks for being our guest on Climbing Ladders.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here podcasting with you both. And let's talk quitting jobs.
Well, Emily, I guess you two have wanted to quit a job, I'm sure, right? And I would love for you to share with our listeners, maybe a story and hopefully a good story or maybe a bad story.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thought when you guys were asking me about this topic and my thoughts about it is my biggest takeaway is I feel like there's so much taboo around quitting a job, right? It's like, oh God, like you're gonna quit a job. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, right? Quitting a job is such a sign of growth. So it's a good thing. And if you feel that itch or that nerve, it's okay. And just taking away the panic and the negative part of it is half of the battle. So I'm really excited to do a deep dive with you both and let's digest why you're feeling that way and what are the steps to kind of walk you through this transition part of your life and how to get to those next steps. So let's just dive into it.
I love that. I love quitting is growth. One door closes and then obviously the better one opens, right? And I feel like we've had this conversation topic a lot over a few Aperols the past couple of years. So I'm so glad you're here. And before we jump into the topic, CT, I just have one question for you. I know you've got some very professional equipment to help record this podcast, and you have a great eye for fashion. I'm just curious, since this is an audio-only podcast for now, and our listeners may want to know, what color is your microphone?
Okay. Well, one of my previous jobs, everyone joked that all I loved was neutrals. I loved wearing black, maybe some camel tannish colors, grays.
You're very natural, yes.
Very, very neutral, right? So as I mentioned, I have twin girls, and I personally have loved the color pink. Or blush tones, if you will. So as I was getting all of my podcast equipment, everything's like glowy and neon and cute. I was like, okay, let me get this cute microphone. It matches my desk and the microphone's pink. So I was looking at myself as we're recording this actually right now. And yeah, there's some innuendos going on. It looks a little, like a spicy podcast, but I swear we're literally just talking business.
What kind of podcast is this?
Hey, this is about our 9 to 5, but my microphone is for the 5 to 9, okay?
Gosh. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You're unique and way to be inclusive here for all of our microphones.
I don't know if this microphone is inclusive, if you know what I mean, so.
Let's jump in. Thanks for sharing. All right, let's talk about this topic of why you want to quit your job. The feels of it. What feelings do you go through? And I'll say this is when you start a new gig, you're full of excitement and dreams. It's like your first day of school. You put on a great outfit and can't wait to become besties with all your new coworkers. You feel special like it's your birthday when they take you to Chili's for your first day. Welcome to the job lunch. You also order a salad instead of the baby back ribs so no one judges you. So what changes? What happened? Studies show that roughly 40 to 50% of professionals are considering leaving their current positions. Some say 20% of workers think about quitting daily. CT, what are some of the common signs? What are those feelings that you should be listening to?
Yeah, I truly think that there are a lot of internal signs, but I do want to circle back to your comment about Chili's being the first day lunch really quick. I truly think that, first day impressions are such a big thing. And I remember, for example, when I've started at some of my best jobs, they showed me kind of their little personality by taking me to some fun restaurants, even without asking me, what my dietary restrictions, if I had any or anything like that. And Kevin, have I ever told you about one of my favorite first day lunches ever?
No.
Okay, so it only happens Monday through Friday, a true suburban gem. So I rolled up to this new job. I'm not going to say what company, but they were just like, hey, we're going to take you out to lunch. I hope you didn't bring anything. And actually, I didn't. I was not prepared. They didn't tell. They were basically, just say, come for your orientation. I'm like, okay, great. So I hopped into the manager's car and we're driving. There's, a lot of big box stores and we pull up to Olive Garden. And I'm like, wow. And when I was younger, Olive Garden was fancy,
Yeah, it's where I took girls to prom.
Yeah, it was the fancy thing. And so anyways, we go and I'm thinking we can order lunch, right? So we all have menus and the manager takes all the menus away from us and says, and as the server comes up, he goes, there's another coworker. So me, coworker, manager. The manager goes, we're going to have the unlimited soup and salad. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, this is what we're
These
doing.
are my friends.
At the
These are my
time,
people.
yeah, at the time, I don't know if it still is, but it was like $7.99 or $8.99 for unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks. And I was just like, okay. Lo and behold, he was just like, yeah, we were supposed to take you to a nice restaurant, but we're on a budget and, all the things. But
Sign
anyways,
number one, you should quit that job. There
well,
we go.
guess what? I'm not there anymore. But Chili's is making a comeback. Like these, I don't know what you would call it, like chain restaurants, I guess. They're kind of making a comeback. Like Red Lobster, just making their comeback. I'm telling you. But
Hey, Chili's 2 for 1s.
yes.
2 for 1s. Can't beat
Okay.
it.
Sorry, that was a true derail, but we're talking about internal science, and Emily did a great segue of saying, hey, that was a red flag. So I would say that one of the biggest things is dreading Mondays. I mean, it's one thing, right? You had a fun weekend and you're like, man, the fun's ending. And I get that. But when you're truly dreading Mondays and then followed by, you're now dreading Tuesday, Wednesday, and so forth, and rinse and repeat. Now you got the Sunday scaries. Have you guys, I'm sure, might have felt that in some of the jobs you've left, possibly.
Why do you think Emily and I go to happy hour every week? No, I mean, this whole thing on that is like, I mean, when I heard that the number one reason why people want to quit is not feeling appreciated, and they're just dreading going into work because they're not feeling the love, and not being appreciated is also the reason my friend divorced her husband, but that's not what we need to talk about today because that's a separate podcast called So You Want to Quit Your Marriage. But yeah, the whole thing on going into the work and just dreading. I remember going into my office and then walking out into the parking lot and just being, I can't believe I survived another day. And then it just makes you miserable.
Yeah, it's the worst. And that goes into feeling undervalued, underpaid, and uninspired.
Yeah. We've talked about this on how do we just make it through another day, right? You always feel that.
She's feeling it right now.
Well, I feel like too, it's also a means to an end, right? There's so many times where you're just doing a job for a certain means to an end. Like there's a goal in sight. You just have to get to X and Y, or I have this one vacation. Like it's just like there's so many different reasons. Like you're just surviving at a job, and like it's important to identify like what is that certain job's like service at this time in your life, and like evaluate it. And like when you've accomplished that small goal, then reevaluate, right? Like there's so many different reasons.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, get the bonus. Got to take care of my kids' school, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, but I also think sometimes when people don't have that hard stop or just that boundary, then it keeps going. So that also leads to burnout, boredom, or no room to grow.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
I can't think of like, I just, when it comes to it, it's just, there's times when you get stuck in that routine and then 6 months go by, or you get to what you said, like get to the next thing. And then you realize a whole year's gone by and you're just miserable.
Yeah, the monotony of misery.
And then you're like, I can't believe I did this. I think I heard something about adulthood is basically just being in this routine, and 40 years goes by and you're like, when you were a kid, you're like, I couldn't wait to be an adult. And then you're an adult and you have to deal with that. I want to go back to being a kid again.
It's the worst propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So along with those three internal signs, we had dreading going in, regardless what day of the week now. You're feeling undervalued or uninspired. You have the burnout, the boredom, but then one other internal sign that we really don't, I guess, have the courage to really face sometimes, but we know it's there, is misaligned values or being in a toxic work culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of rounds out a lot of common internal signs. I'm sure everyone that's listening might have a couple other ones. That's, I wouldn't say a good list. It's not a good list at all, but those are pretty common. So let's talk about external signs, because those are also there. About no career progression. You're possibly an individual contributor, or whatever you signed up for changed trajectory and it's no longer what it was when you started. So again, no career progression. And
yeah, or getting stuck in a job. I've had friends at a pretty big corporation, and it was always the thing where you work a year or two in a role and then you get promoted to the next role and then the next role. And some of my friends were on that path, and all of a sudden you get to a spot where there is no more progression and you're off of that every 1 or 2 year promotion deal. And then they were just miserable, and they thought they were so loyal and they gave their best efforts for like 10 years goes by and then they don't go anywhere. It's heartbreaking to watch, but it's easier to see it from the outside versus when you're in it.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna add too, Kev. It's like that perceived loyalty where they have this like, well, like I'm the only one that can do this for this company, or they promised me this if I just get to that. The company's been promising you this for 5 years and haven't executed. So like, what are you doing waiting around being so loyal to them? Like.
Well, they give you
The
that.
only one
Like,
being loyal is you. It's not going both ways. Like and like you said, it's sad to watch because it's like such a manipulative factor a bunch of workplaces do, and
it's like a bad relationship where they're like, instead of flowers and chocolates, they're like, here's your Starbucks gift card. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We're also going to do a pizza lunch on Friday.
Yeah, totally. Here's your Jelly of the Month Club at Christmas time bonus.
Jelly beans.
What else you got, CT?
Oh gosh, this is a big one. And I've experienced this myself many times, unfortunately, but there's changes in leadership and, you just don't vibe with it, whether it's the direction, the personality clash, or the way they lead. I think that's a huge one. How about you guys?
Well, you mean to tell me you've never had a leader that was just perfect?
Close. Kevin, you're actually a really good leader, a little bit of a goofball, but you are a good leader. I've watched you inspire your teams and you make a good time out of it.
Aw.
But it's a rare thing to see now. A lot of corporate jobs I'm seeing, especially with this is going to be another podcast when we talk about layoffs and whatnot, but a lot of middle management is getting cut out and work is getting outsourced or whatever. And so there's a big gap from someone to their boss. Like they don't have that connecting point, and their small interaction that they have with their boss is fleeting or far and few between. So it's not inspiring when the only time you have that interaction is for a review, when your project goes off the cliff for whatever reason it may be. And again, it goes back to that misaligned values and toxic work culture.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think we could talk about that for hours, but ultimately, I think if it's a sign, again, if it's a thing where you're like, hey, this just doesn't fit my vibe, it's probably time to really understand it's time to quit. So being aware of it's important. Yep.
Totally. One more external sign that I definitely want to call out is being overworked and under-resourced. I mean, that goes everywhere, but being overworked and under-resourced has a lot to do with two things. One thing that Emily had mentioned was loyalty to the company or whoever you're working for. And yes, you're loyal with the hopes of the next step, or climbing higher, if you will. And so you're thinking, oh, if I take on this extra assignment or this extra project, or show that, oh, everybody's leaving at 5, but I'll stay till 7, it'll show more that I'm dedicated or whatnot. But then that gets looked at as the new norm, and that's also not healthy. And then, you look back, you've done that for 2-3+ years and nothing has changed for you. And so, yeah, I think that's a big external sign, because that bleeds into your personal life. That takes away from the things that you personally enjoy, or your family and friends.
I always love it when a company lets somebody go, and instead of replacing that person, they're like, hey, here's more work for you, and we have to keep you the same, but we can give you a new job title. It's like red flag.
Yeah, definitely red flag for sure. But as we're all kind of listing out these internal signs and external signs that I think are everybody's felt, maybe 1, 2, or if not all of them. I have my own that I'd love to share. It's not because, it's not just because I think it's a great story. It's actually not, but it was when I started to listen to these signs myself. So when I knew the moment I had to leave, it was a role I had loved. Like, I signed up for it because I knew I was going to love the work. It was sold to me with this environment and leadership team that I thought I would really gel with and love. But I was learning a lot in this role as well. But the culture was just really hard to thrive in. And my work was in constant limbo. It was constantly changing. I'm not sure if anyone has felt this way, but when you drive to work and you sit in your car and give yourself a pep talk, telling yourself, you got this, just make it to the end of the week or even the day, but you keep doing that pep talk week after week. And I am a big believer of not getting fooled by a bad day or getting fooled by a good day. But unfortunately, the bad days were starting to link together to the point where I realized I wasn't having any good days anymore, and for a long time. And this energy was just starting to spill into my personal life. I was getting snappy and short, and I hate to admit it, but I would start to get really emotional getting ready for work. That was when I knew I had to make a change. The work environment and those in charge were beyond my control, and it was up to me to make that change.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I think there's so many times we think about our job as just a job, but it does have an emotional impact on not only your day, but everybody around you and your family and your friends. And boy, when you get to that spot, that is so tough. If you're feeling these signs or having those emotions, you got to do something. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, which is "Get busy living or get busy dying." It's that Morgan Freeman character, Red, from Shawshank Redemption, which is a top 13 movie for me all time. Now, work isn't prison in upstate New England, but you do sometimes feel like you don't have a choice. And I'd say this is, you do have a choice. Life is short, YOLO. You do have a choice on how you want to spend your time in your career. And I always think you're really good at saying, you know what, I've served this thing. I have a real nice balance between it's time to go or should I stay? And then you make the decision and you go because it's the best thing for you.
100%. And I think too, so many people are so scared to make a change because it's like the unknown of like, well, what am I going to do if I'm not doing this? And it's like, if you don't make space for the new opportunity, you're never going to know. And I can't tell you how many friends like I have that they take a chance and they quit a job or they go out on a limb and just walk or make an adjustment. And then their next move is something so incredible. And Kev, like we go way back in this department.
Yeah.
And it's like, not only is your next move going to be really good, but it's going to be really, really effing good. And if you just hold that mentality and keep your faith that life is supposed to be that way, I really do believe in that for people. And it's, you just have to make space for it. And if you just stay in this monotonous, horrible routine, you're never going to get there because you don't have space for it. So sometimes you really just do have to take a leap of faith. But I think further in the podcast, we're going to walk through some steps to get you better prepared. And so it's not just this insane quit, walk away, but sometimes people get to that point. We'll get there, but just have faith too, because that's kind of what life's supposed to be about. So
Love it.
Yeah, I love that. And I do want to say for those that, if you want to think about it this way, right, it's having absolute confidence in your skills. If you're able to do your current job like a rock star, why would you not be able to do those tasks or those projects or whatever the function is somewhere else that would appreciate you? You know? And I always think about that. I'm like, okay, so maybe in this job, you're a round peg in a square hole, but that doesn't make you any lesser. You just need to go find where you fit in better.
Yep, 100%. Because there's someone who's wanting what you have to offer. You're just not available for them because you're trying to jam your square down a circle somewhere else.
Kevin was waiting for this.
For lack of better word. Did I say I wasn't PC? Did you guys note that before
It just
this
sounds
started?
like it's almost like this is good for not only work, but relationships. So,
Yes,
like,
there was a few things where I'm like, wow, I know a girlfriend that's going through that right now, but it's not her job. It's her relationship.
yeah. But hey, there's other fish in the sea and you'll meet the guy of your dreams. Yep. All that.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good way for us to talk about our next big topic. It's what do you do before you quit? Yes, there are certain scenarios where you just have reached, in your terms, rock bottom, or you just have had enough and you're getting hives. You just cannot go in and you're quitting. But if you know that you want to leave, hopefully on good terms, there are some things that you do need to ask yourself. I want us to just talk about what we should be looking for or what we should be doing. So before I quit my job, I personally had to do a gut check. Again, before I was saying, I try not to get fooled by a good day or a bad day. I just had to do a gut check and just really assess, like, even if you have to make a list or talk to a mentor or talk to some other person that is not in the environment, so that way they can ask you more objective questions. That way you're not making a decision out of just pure emotion. I still have to adult with or without this job. There were a couple of things that I needed to think through. Some of us have mortgage, rent, family, obligations, savings, whatever it may be. That's what I consider adulting right now. But one question I would definitely ask myself is, am I running away or am I running towards something? To M's point, are we giving ourselves space for that next opportunity? Are we looking ahead?
And I love that you say when you're considering this thing, do you feel like you just need to tough it out? Or do you just need to stop being a baby? And you wrestle with that internally. So talking to somebody outside of the environment, not at your company, is so important, because you could sit there and talk to your coworkers and all you're going to do is basically talk smack about all the things that are wrong with it, and you all just go down the toilet in this despair, and that doesn't help anybody. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And when I say make a list, it's even writing down what some of the issues you're having at work are, whether it is feelings, a task, responsibilities, your role definition, whatever it may be. Make a list and check yourself. Have you tried to fix the issue, whether it be conversations with those involved, putting in boundaries, healthy boundaries, and is it a role change? So again, back to the round peg square hole, it could also be that there's some tasks that are just really draining and it really isn't in your wheelhouse or your responsibility, but for some reason you took it on. Is it something that you can change? So that's just a little example of trying to fix the issue.
It's almost like saying, did I do everything I could in my control?
Yes.
And if I did it all, then I can walk away and feel good about it.
Yes, totally.
Also say too, like hire like a career coach, executive coach, like work with mentors, like people you respect, like, network, like get your name out there too. Like you have conversations, like go get drinks, go to coffees, like just kind of similar to dating versus not in a shady way, like see what else is out there, because like you just don't know what you don't know. So it's like really important just to like do a sanity check and like make sure I'm good, right? I'm aligned, I'm correct in this feeling, right? Because that's really helpful to like know what you're worth, get really good guidance, and check yourself. And I just think that's really helpful too, just from your surroundings.
Yeah, they can give you that perspective that here's what it looks like on the other side of the fence. And while there's a lot of great opportunities out there, the grass isn't always greener. There's always going to be issues at anywhere you're at. But if it's not that overbearing compared to what's out there, you'll get that a lot by talking to a career coach, talking to your mentors, talking to people outside of it. Yeah, great ad.
And then the big topic is, can you afford to quit right now? And I know that is one of the main driving forces for a lot of people to stay in their situation. And you just have to really do a gut check and say, can I do this right now? Or if I can, how much longer do I need to do this? So that also leads into, are you prepared emotionally and financially?
Yeah. I know we're going to talk a little bit more in a second about the financial piece, but what are your thoughts on how you prepare emotionally as you're going through this to quit a job?
I kind of go back to like that early on statement, is it's don't over dramatize the decision. Like it really doesn't have to be that heavy. I think the more you make it that way, the harder you make it on yourself. It doesn't, just because you're quitting a job doesn't make you a bad person. You're just growing.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay. Like you're just growing, you're just moving on, and that's a good thing. Detaching from it and seeing it as that is half of it to me. And just getting excited. I don't know. That's been like a big part of my career growth, is just seeing it as exciting and a thing of growth. Like I feel like in our parents' generation, it was so cool to say, I worked so-and-so for 45 years. And that was a big like cheese thing to say. And now it's like, cool.
Congrats on you.
Yeah, you didn't get a extra plaque for that anymore, So now it's like, how are you pivoting and, like what's best for you versus that line. So
yeah, I think technically, to speak to that generation as well, a lot of the benefits that were awarded to our parents versus now, a lot of companies don't have pensions and for
100%.
yeah. So the environment is so different, just like how the people are saying the older generation are kind of shaming the younger generation of not home owning or whatever it may be. But again, the environment is so different now. Again, different podcast for that, but it's just a different time.
And that's why I think this topic is so like hard, because the taboo statement of like quitting a job is like, but it's really not. So it should be something to celebrate. I even remember I was bringing this guy on my team, and HR was trying to tell me that I couldn't hire him because they were worried he was going to quit in a year and want to do something else. And well, he should want to do something else in a year. Like, I wouldn't expect any analyst to want to stay in a role for more than a year. Like, why would I want to penalize him for being too motivated? We shouldn't penalize him for that. Like, let me train him for a year. He'll do a great job, and then we'll bring somebody else in. Like, I couldn't believe we were punishing him for being super motivated. Like, I just think everyone needs to like rewire their brains.
Yeah, it's like HR thinks, oh, we're hiring this person, they're gonna stay in this role forever.
Yeah, forever. Like, I don't know. I think
like
the whole
Sandlot.
Yeah.
You also said, I like this whole thing about the gut check as you're going through it and not being emotionally invested into the job. I think like one of the best things I've ever done in my life is ask myself this question: is in 10 years, is this really going to matter? Am I going to remember this? And for the most part, it's a hard no. I mean, I'd rather do the things that really matter and worry about bigger decisions that are going to matter in 10 years from now.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying you shouldn't care and you shouldn't be emotional about things. You should do it until it serves a purpose for you, because at the end of the day, like, the company would replace you in 2 seconds. That's just the fact of the matter. It's the transactional of doing business. So you really shouldn't dramatize it for yourself. It's just business. It's just your life. So you do what works best for you, as the business is going to do what's best for them. So I just feel like the second that people can see it that way, like, they really will start making better decisions for themselves.
Couldn't have said it better. CT, what else? Anything else on before you quit?
I think that's a really good list for everybody to use and guide them. That helps us understand, how do we quit like a pro now?
Yeah. And before we get to that, I do want to give a little sponsor break here. Did you guys know that almost 3 out of every 5 people enjoy a drink to help cope with the stresses of life? So if you're like me, CT, and M, we enjoy a glass of wine from time to time after a crazy day at work. And if you're going to drink wine, you might as well drink something amazing from our friends at Glassman Wines, the sponsor for this week's episode. Glassman Wines were developed by our good friend and advanced somm, Brian Kulick. He was inspired by his jazz musician grandfather, Benjamin Glassman, and Brian has created a complex yet easy-drinking Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, the latter receiving a 93-point rating from Tasting Panel and Somm Journal, so you know the experts agree. Normally this is $35. We have a Climbing Ladders special for only $24.95 a bottle. If you email my friend, Brian at briandavidwines.com, we'll have all the info in our description. It's in that perfect wheelhouse for an audience seeking a wine of the utmost quality without the elevated price tag. Enjoy your Glassman wines as well when you're ready to celebrate that new gig or promotion. And please don't forget to drink responsibly. All right, back to the chat. Christine, you said how to quit like a pro. So you want to quit, you're ready to quit, you're prepared to quit. So how do you do it? And I can't help but think of this song made famous by a guy named Johnny Paycheck. That's his real stage name. In 1977, which is a great year, by the way, it's called Take This Job and Shove It. It goes, take this job and shove it. I ain't working here anymore. Besides the fact I can't sing, what a dream it would be to walk up to your boss, sing this song, and proudly stroll out with the entire cubicle floor cheering your name, maybe Jerry Maguire style. You've got hero status, but unfortunately, that's not an warning incoming business term best practice. So how do you quit like a pro? Well, Christine, you mentioned this a second ago. Financials is important. So we always say, hey, it's best practice to save 3 to 6 months of expenses if possible. But this is a tough one because according to a recent survey by PNC Bank, in 2025, an estimated 77% of American workers are living paycheck to paycheck. While this is commonly associated with lower income households, it's also affecting a growing number of higher income earners as reported by CNN. So what do you do? We've talked about, try to like see what's out there and line something up new if you can, and plan for a few paycheck cycles, because at a new gig, you may not see a paycheck for a full month. And they don't just hand out signing bonuses like they do in the NFL. Yes, I'm still sad about not being drafted by the Denver Broncos. So besides lining up something new, if you can, CT, what else should we do?
Yeah, I truly believe that some might say it's like old fashioned, but crafting a respectful resignation letter. I think that's important, and it's just respectful. Along with that, once that's given, I also say give appropriate notice. I know a lot of people will hear 2 weeks, but I think for certain roles, there is a courtesy length of time, such as an executive or C-suite roles.
Yeah. I think, what is it? I've heard 6 weeks for executives. I think that's what I've tried to do. I think, CT, you gave like a 9-month heads up
I
one
did.
time.
Well, no, I gave 2 months because I was working on a project that I wanted to finish up before I left. I was personally invested in it, and I wanted to make sure that I left the team in a good place. And that was the only reason. Or else, to your point, I think 6 weeks is plenty.
Yeah.
It gives them time to find a replacement if they need to, do pass-offs with whoever's taking on your responsibilities. That's plenty of time.
Yeah. I agree with the timing thing. I think that's always something that's just always respectful. And that, to that point, is I always say, like, hey, just don't burn bridges. Stay gracious, even when it was awful. What's crazy, this happens a lot, is when your old bosses or coworkers that you thought didn't like you or you just didn't vibe with, reach out asking for help finding a job later. Just good karma to be gracious, and what you want them to take this job and shove it. Better to be a good person.
What else should you do?
Yeah. The couple things I would say is, it sounds easy enough, is download any personal work contacts, resources before your last day. This doesn't mean you need to be Tom Cruise on a Mission Impossible task, downloading all the company's deepest and darkest secrets, because you don't need them, and that's most likely illegal. Get those network contacts and info so you don't have to stalk someone's LinkedIn profile and drop into their DMs to say hello. It's a little more professional, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think you need to download a ton of stuff. And I don't know if you guys, Emily and Kevin, I don't know if you've heard of this before, but I've heard of some companies doing data forensics on your laptop. Everybody has, a ThinkPad, which is linked to their IT group. But if you have another computer, they will go through and see if you sent anything, to an external contact, to yourself, downloaded stuff, whatnot. It becomes a whole thing. Now, obviously, it depends what role you have. So if you're in a more high-tech type environment, that might happen more often, but just keep your downloads and personal work to a minimum, because
That's
honestly,
so crazy.
you don't really need a ton, because that information that you're downloading will eventually age out, especially with how things are progressing so fast now.
It sounds kind of creepy if that's your job. Oh, my job is to go check everybody's computer to see what they've been doing. That would be a creepy job.
Yeah, but you know what? My dad actually not hired someone to do that, but they were getting a lot of issues, like a lot of viruses, and they were wondering why they were getting a lot of viruses. And somebody was looking at inappropriate material on their work computer, and it was an older person doing this. And so they were just clicking accept or okay. All the pop-ups were coming up, and so they were literally letting all these Trojan horses come in. That's wild.
What?
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I was like, he casually brought it up at dinner one time. I was like, what?
No big deal.
No big deal.
It's just porn. It's always the older guys too, right?
It is. Yeah, and he was the partner, like the company partner, not like him and his partner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I had to clarify.
Oh, it's like, I mean, if it's your own porn, I think that's okay to have on. It's you and your own, but
Yeah, but then why does your own porn have viruses?
that's a personal question, and
Not why do you have viruses?
oh my goodness. Okay. All right. I think this is a good time for what I'd call our water cooler break, and this is a mini break because podcasts, even like the workday, need a little water cooler break. Where you talk a little gossip, make fun of your boss for whatever they said in the last meeting, This segment, we want to just share quick stories, funny anecdotes about our topic for the week. In the future, in our Ask, we want our listeners to share their funny stories or thoughts with us, which you can drop us a DM through our Instagram, Climbing Ladders Co. Let's talk about the funny ways people have quit their job. For example, there's this guy, Alex, that decided to use a Hallmark sympathy card for his resignation letter. Yes, a real card that you can get at the store. The card said, quote, "Even though you knew this time would come, there's no way to prepare your heart for such a loss. I am so sorry. Signed, Alex, 2 weeks notice and the date." I just thought that was very thoughtful.
Well, to your point, Kevin, you had mentioned for leaving your job to do it with some grace and stay on good terms. Because this guy who signed his resignation letter, he actually wrote, "Gotten a new job from a company, and I like to go and try the place too, but should it not work out, I will come back." So that very bold, but if he's leaving on good terms, then why not? I know a ton of people that have gone back to, their company and whatnot.
Way to hedge your bet. Just say, okay, I'm going to leave, but if it sucks, I'm coming right back. Thanks.
Yeah, it sounds like an open marriage, but like open work.
Speaking of resignation letters, there's a guy that I've heard wrote his resignation letter on toilet paper. And he stated it as a symbol of how I feel this company's treated me and where I feel this company's going, complete with a very well hand-drawn picture of a toilet. Do you think that's something that you find professional, is writing on toilet paper as your resignation letter?
I mean, that's probably the worst I've heard, but to each their own.
Yeah.
Do it, but who am I to judge?
Flushed
We're all
it.
on our own journey.
That poops on its own journey, man. I feel like we're getting a lot of people that have let their intrusive thoughts let it come to life. But I do have one, and it's kind of cringy to me. I don't know what I would do if someone did this, but a drugstore employee who wrote a long poem for his resignation letter that included beautiful lines such as, "The pay is little and the stress is much. I must get out before the Christmas photo rush. And good luck with the newbie. Hope she does well. Sadly, from experience, the next few months for her will be hell." Gosh, I don't know. I don't think that's leaving on a good note, but hey, like Em said, to each their own.
I mean, creative. Maybe their next job was to write a book of poetry. So
For Hallmark with the
For
first guy
Hallmark.
that you mentioned.
yeah. Oh, last one I wanted to share was this one. Okay, CT, this is actually a hotel you and I have stayed at regularly when we were visiting our work friends at CVS. I love this hotel, actually. Incredible memories. But this guy, Joey, he hired a marching band to play a celebratory anthem as soon as he simply told his boss, "I quit." The band played. They started chanting, "Joey quits. Joey quits." And he just lovingly waved goodbye to his boss. You can actually see this. It's memorable because it's got 9.4 million views on YouTube. So check it out. Yes, water cooler break. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And again, next segment, please share your stories. We want to hear them. We want to tell them. Okay, back to our regular scheduled program.
Yeah, so we've talked about the signs of should we quit or how we're feeling about our current job. And that led us to what we should do before we quit and also how to quit like a pro. But then we need to talk about what happens after we quit. So I want to have Emily kind of share how she felt when she left her job or her last job, whichever experience you want to share with our audience.
Okay. A really good piece of advice a friend shared with me before leaving a job was, and it really stuck with me. It was, don't leave until you've done the work that you're leaving with love. And I thought that was good because, you go through so many emotions we've talked about of like anger and frustration. And there's so many times you wanted to do some of the stories we've mentioned on like ways to quit. And I think if you're feeling any of those ways, like you really haven't done the work yet, like you haven't like gotten to the place of love yet where it's okay, it's time to leave. And I just think that recently, my last exit from my company, which was recently, they've kind of gone through a lot. And it was an acquisition and the company had gone through a lot of pains. I was an early on employee. And after the purchase, it was like the company got bought out and I was kind of put in the corner into a role that it wasn't fitting for me. I never wanted to do it. My boss happened to be in a totally different part of the world and wasn't really grooming me and I didn't feel like she really saw me and cared much about my career growth or trajectory. So that's when I felt there's not much for me left at this company. And so for me, it was just really easy. It's just time to go. So I luckily was coming back from maternity leave, which was wonderful. I had great time off with my child. I came back, got the vibe check, not a lot was changing, super easy, submitted my letter of resignation, thanked the company for all they had done for me, reached out to everyone who had made an impact on not only my career, but my life as well, because that company had done a lot for me in many, many ways, and 100% left with so much love. So I felt, really good about it, and like probably the most mature in my life leaving a job, because I felt really good about it. Not sure if that's helpful at all, but I just feel as you get older, you just learn so much, and I'm kind of in a new role at a new company, and it's very, very startup again, and that's kind of where I'm learning is my bread and butter is when it's just in the shits and in the build again. And that's kind of where I like to be. Just learning more about yourself and what works for you. And that's kind of what I'm identifying.
Yeah, I think that's so important after you quit, because there are times it can be a real negative experience and then you carry that negativity into the next job. And
Yep.
I love that you left it in with, like you said, love, and then you don't have to, you won't have any of that trauma that you're bringing in, or you're feeling good and refreshed, and it's all right, I'm in a good spot, and you were able to be in a good spot to just maybe go find the next thing and transition quickly, which that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a good thing. I'm just super positive. I'll never forget my first job out of college when I started off my career in public accounting, which anyone who knows me is why would this girl ever go be a tax accountant? And it was horrible. And the first day on the job, I don't even know what I'm doing. And the first year into it, I don't even know what I'm doing. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. And when I was quitting, I cried. And I felt so guilty and so bad. And to this day, you look back to your 22-year-old self, it's oh my God, if you only knew. That was so not for me. And why did I feel so bad? And I was just, it's okay. And I just be open to change. It's a good thing, Don't
Yeah.
cry.
Okay, so that's so funny because Emily, I didn't know that about you and that job, but you and Kevin at 22, both in finance, that is a weird coincidence.
Or awesome.
Yeah,
'cause-
or awesome, but I'm just saying where you guys are now versus how you guys started. I mean, I think that's a really good sign for people to see the journey could take you anywhere.
Yeah, people look at my resume and they're like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. A
It's
wild
most-
ride.
it's-
I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it either. I don't know.
No, and sometimes you don't have to, but honestly, I think what you shared is a great playbook, and that really leads to people going through that emotional roller coaster, and you had your moment of rest and reset and really having that self-talk of your identity, whether it's in that job or outside your job, whatever it may be. And Kevin, you're so good at these workshops. I think you did something like this for us one time, but I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, I think just this is a good tip. Once you quit, and yes, you have the emotions, and there's a good way to ground yourself in what to do next. There was this thing that we learned from my old entrepreneur group at Studio E, and you just get a big piece of paper out and you divide it into 4 sections. In the top section, you write down all the things that you're really great at, that you love to do. And then in the second section, you write the things that you're good at doing that you like to do. The third section, things that you're good at, but you hate doing them. And then you can probably guess in that 4th section is the things you hate doing and you're awful at it. The whole goal of this thing is, once you get it on paper, if you can just focus on the things that you're really great at, that you just love doing, that's the only thing you should try to do in your next role. And when you can frame it up that way, it gives you a really good compass to say, all right, this is my filter of what I want to go look for next, and this is what I'm going to go after. It's been really helpful.
So let's talk through some things or some tangible resources that our listeners can actually do outside of this podcast. And for me, I am an Audibles girl, but if people like to actually hold a book, you can probably find this on Audibles or, whatever app that you download books on. One of the books that I recommend is The Quitter's Manifesto by Tim Rode and Pat Hibben. And then the second book that I would recommend is Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. So both are really good recommendations. It's a good read. Get it if you can. Rent it from your library, whatever it may be. Kevin, do you have any other resource recommendations?
I would talk about some podcasts, and I have a podcast reco. Besides, there's this new up-and-coming podcast called Climbing Ladders, which I think everybody's already sharing with their friends. I really like this guy's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, but his podcast, The Tim Ferriss Show, is excellent, especially for career pivots. This guy's got amazing guests, lots of inspiration for your career and life paths, a ton of followers. Definitely check it out.
Okay, I need to interject there because Tim Ferriss is great. And before podcasts became what it has been because of COVID and just beyond, I listened to Tim Ferriss back in like 2010, as early as 2010 for me. Yes, because he also he used the 4-hour as his kind of franchise. So he had like the 4-hour workout week, like for actual workouts or whatever, learn how to speak different languages, and again, just a very short period of time. And his method and his strategy is so interesting. I think he's just a very interesting person.
Yeah. What Emily and I like to do is spend 4 hours drinking just to recover from the work week. So we also subscribe to that 4-hour work week if that's like one of his things. So, what else, DT?
Yeah. So we did talk about, when you're thinking about quitting, are you financially set up to do so? Meaning, if you don't have a job lined up, do you have some savings or something to land on? So I think budgeting apps are a really good thing to have. And it's something that you should probably be doing even if you aren't quitting. So I suggest YNAB and Mint. I think those are great options. I personally like to use SoFi high yield savings account because you can separate your savings into smaller vaults to keep your funds organized. Like I have one specifically for car or my dog, for vacations and other slush funds. So I definitely would recommend that. And
you could also recommend Emily Horsley for her CPA background for budgeting.
Yeah, and then Kevin for financial investment. I'm getting nothing back for that one, though. Man, I think you guys don't listen to that. That's not sound advice. I do not sponsor that. Okay. Other apps that pertain to what we're discussing for job search. So yes, we all, I'm sure, have heard of LinkedIn, but there are other apps that we can recommend besides LinkedIn. So there's WellFound and there is LHH Recruitment Solutions. There are a lot of folks who have had their lifestyles change because of the pandemic or family planning or just pure change of scenery. So if you're looking for remote options, there's a lot of great apps or websites as well for that, such as AngelList, Remotive, and Just Remote. So those are some areas or websites that you can look at and see if that fits what you're looking for.
Yeah. Great book, podcast, app recommendations. All right. So, hey, cover what we wanted to cover on why you want to quit your job. Before we wrap up this first episode, you've been awesome. What words of advice would you want to leave people with who are thinking about quitting their job?
Honestly, if you're already thinking about it, you might as well just do it because there's a reason you're feeling that way. So just listen to your gut and just rip the Band-Aid.
I'm thinking about drinks with you in a bit, so let's do that too.
Sounds good.
All right. Excellent. Emily, seriously, thank you so much for your stories, your insights.
Thanks for having me.
Your laughs. You're right.
I hate being known as a quitter, but like I told you, take away the taboo of it. It's good to listen to growth, so don't be scared of it.
It's not a label I would ever say about you. You're a builder. All right. Drinks on me next time.
Appreciate you guys. Bye.
Yes, thank you. All right. So I would say definitely quitting isn't failing, and it's just choosing to bet on yourself.
Yeah. I'm leaving from this learning about just because you quit isn't a bad thing. It is about growth. It's like what Em says. If you're feeling it, it's not bad to be a quitter. Just do it. And
Totally. I think
the opportunities are there.
yeah, like quit that toxic environment. That's a good thing for you, right? Quit that burnout feeling. Again, eventually as we start building on this, we're gonna let our audience know that quitting is not a yucky word.
Yeah. Yeah. Quit's cool.
I mean, like,
Cool.
if you have bills and stuff, like, let's be responsible. But if you know it's not healthy for you, yes, quit it.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we want to thank you guys so much for listening to this first episode of Climbing Ladders. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we have. Just to tease a few of the next episodes we have coming soon, we'll be covering a few topics I think that you guys are going to enjoy, including dealing with a bad boss and also WTF, I just got laid off. Things we can't wait to dive into next.
Yes. And then for you guys that really loved our show, I'd love to see you guys subscribe. Share it with a friend, a coworker even. DM us if you're on the edge, and trust me, we've been there. And you can also find us on Instagram at Climbing Ladders Co.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Keep on climbing those ladders.
Bye.